And actually, I think this is bigger than people realize. You have now a complete paradigm shift in the Middle East. Russia has no influence. Communist China has no influence. Feckless Europe has no influence. The superpower that has influence now in the entire Middle East, which is such a crucial region of the world, is the United States of America.
The smiles on their faces suggest that this deal for the first phase. Now, as we know, Laura, the devil is in the details, and the second phase, which is much more difficult, this first phase of the peace plan. Laura.
And Jennifer, it's pretty interesting that Jared Kushner with Witkoff was part of this duo that really drove this to the president's desk. Jared Kushner obviously instrumental in the Abraham Accords, which no one thought was possible in the first term, and people wondered whether Jared would have much involvement at all in the second term. And here, only 9 months into the administration, this is a pretty pivotal achievement.
A huge achievement, and certainly Jared Kushner's achievement as the negotiator of the Abraham Accords in the first Trump term. He has a lot of credibility in the Middle East, and he has used that, as you've heard President Trump say, that this into the Gaza war is just the first phase of what he sees as a broader Middle East peace plan, if you will, that would broaden the Abraham Accords. That certainly is what is motivating Jared Kushner. Steve Witkoff has been at the center of hostage negotiations, has brought many of those hostages out from Gaza as well as around the world.
And President Trump advanced.
I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace.
The president planning to travel to Egypt this weekend for a formal signing and the return of the remaining hostages.
Thank you, sir. Regarding Jared Kushner's role in the negotiations, can you explain a little bit about why he came on at the last minute? And then in regards to the WIC program that the Vice President mentioned, do you know when the funding that you promised through the tariff revenue will actually go through to communities? Because there's reports that WIC providers are actually starting to close down today.
Well, okay, let me just answer the Jared. So Jared's a very smart guy. He did the Abraham Accords. As some people say, the Abraham, which I love the way that sounds, but he did the Abraham Accords. It was a great thing. 4 big countries joined. If I were president, if the election would have been a correct election, which it wasn't, you'd have every country in there. Maybe even Iran would have been in there, frankly. But you'd have every country in. Now, by the way, that's going to be filled up rather quickly. People want to join the Abraham Accords. And I put Jared there because he's a very smart person, and he knows the region, knows the people, knows a lot of the players, and the combination of him and Steve Witkoff.
As celebrations continue in the Middle East, President Trump says he plans to go to the region for the peace deal, signing the release of the Hamas-held hostages in the next few days.
20 believed to still be alive after 2 years in Hamas captivity.
They should be released on Monday or Tuesday. Getting them is a complicated process.
And there are even more complicated steps ahead, including a requirement for Hamas to disarm and leave power, still an open question.
They got to be written out of the future of Palestine. Just keep our fingers crossed.
Cautious optimism on Capitol Hill, where lawmakers in both parties gave credit to President Trump.
What we need is bipartisan support for the peace process, which will be fraught with obstacles, make no mistake.
As for how this deal came together, Secretary of State Marco Rubio pointed to some key turning points, including President Trump securing the backing of leaders of Muslim-majority nations at the UN General Assembly last month, getting Israel's prime minister to sign on in a White House visit, and delivering a final ultimatum to Hamas.
And Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner met with Prime Minister Netanyahu to craft the 20-point plan that really is the basis for the deal, the first phase of the deal that will be signed in Sharm el-Sheikh tomorrow at noon, we're told. So those meetings, that involvement of Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff and President Trump, this would not have happened otherwise.
And some word that President Trump may be flying to the region this weekend to be there. He's been invited there. Jennifer, this is fascinating, historic first step, but an important step.
Rotem Cooper's father, Amiram, is one of many that did not make it out alive.
It feels like this day happened not because of, but despite of the Israeli Prime Minister and Hamas, and more because of President Trump.
Why do you think this time was different and that President Trump was able to do this?
I don't know. I don't really care. I want to see them here. They're going to be, I think, quite a bit of celebrations. And then after that, we're going to get a lot of people in body bags. I wouldn't even call it relief, but closure.
I think this is a great day. And hostages are going to be coming home. They have spent 2 years in Gaza in hell. And they are coming home today or this weekend, hopefully by Monday. And I think that is a good news story. And I think, credit to the administration, credit to Jared Kushner, who came in to help lead this process and take over some of the negotiations and really bring it to a close. It's also a little bit of sadness that this is something that we could have seen months ago. There was a deal in January that achieved the ceasefire where the female and the older men hostages came home. Phase 2 would have been essentially where we are today. So we have, to me, it's a little bit of a tinge of sadness of these folks could have been home 9 months ago or 8 months ago. Many Palestinians would still be alive, Israeli soldiers, and the horrific condition that Israel has seen over the last many months could have been avoided. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this is a good day.
Who held it up 9 months ago?
Look, I think there was a ceasefire in January. Phase 2 was supposed to start on day 42. And the Israelis they thought they'd get a better deal. And they tried different things of harder pressure on Hamas and so on. I think that ultimately the blockade for a few months and the more severe attacks in Gaza, those didn't work. And I think that the very harsh criticism that has caused an Israeli isolation in the world has really proven to the Israeli government, I think, that they needed a deal.
You have a complete realignment in the Middle East. The most powerful military force in the Middle East today is the State of Israel. The most consequential government and country in the entire Middle East is the United States of America, a complete paradigm shift. This has worldwide implications. It has implications for Europe, the Far East, the continent of Africa, the Western Hemisphere, because what Donald Trump has managed to do in alliance with the Prime Minister of Israel has changed the whole map. He's changed the economic consequences, all the oil that comes out of the Middle East and so forth. The power of the United States. We're not a conquering power. We're not an imperial power. We're not a colonial power. This man, Donald Trump, is able to do this through economic and diplomacy decisions, through tactical, directed military decisions. We have never, ever seen anything like this. I think about the collapse of the Soviet Union. Maybe it's something akin to that. But people will be writing about this forever. And what does Donald Trump say? Okay, on to Ukraine and Russia. Like it's the next thing that we have to resolve in the world. It's really, really quite remarkable, Sean. However it works out, the world is a better place. It's a safer place. It's a more humane place.
It's frankly despicable that you're trying to suggest that it's inappropriate for Jared Kushner, who is widely respected around the world and has great trust in relationships with these critical partners in these countries, to strike a 20-point comprehensive detailed peace plan that no other administration would ever be able to achieve. And so Jared is donating his energy and his time to our government, to the President of the United States, to secure world peace. And that is a very noble thing. And this is a peace plan that has not just been accepted by Israel, but it has been applauded by Muslim and Arab countries around the world. It has been applauded by European leaders around the world. Virtually everyone in the world is supportive of this plan that Jared Kushner offered his time to help put together alongside our special envoy Witkoff, the Vice President, the President of the United States, Secretary Rubio, and the President's entire national security team. We are very proud of that plan, and we hope Hamas will accept it because it will lead to a more peaceful and prosperous Middle East.